Hi, everybody. I hope everybody's having a really great day. Happy Friday. It's Friday, right? Yeah, happy Friday. It's been a crazy week. Happy Friday. I hope everybody's having a really great day. I hope everybody got a chance to watch Tabloids on Trial. If you haven't, head on over to my Patreon. Might be able to watch it. I don't know. But what I will say is it's great to see everybody here. Oh my God, 70 people in the middle of the day. I know that's right. Thanks so much, you guys. I always expect the earlier it is, I always expect people to show up at like 6 and 7 because everybody's off work. I forget y'all got good jobs or y'all can watch in the middle of the day. All right now. So today I wanted to talk about Tabloids on Trial. And so I separated it into two sections because I want to make sure we talk about the fullness of the documentary and not only the parts that centered on Harry, because the whole documentary was really good. It was very informative. How many people learned something from the documentary? Can y'all hear me okay? Okay, there we go. How many people learned documentary? Because I got to be honest, I thought I was really up to speed. And then after the documentary, I was like, oh my God, like I really didn't know most of this. So, well, a lot of this. So it was very informative. And I'm glad for that because making content for the sake of making content is just a hobby. But if you're a reporter and you're making content, it has to have a point of view. It has to have a reason for it. It's got to inform the public in some way. Hey, Connie Balmer, thank you for being here. Hey, Veronica Quick. Hi, Carol Lund, Mia Sylvester, Hillary Daniel, Annie Bullard. Thank y'all. So I just wanted to share that I felt like, oh, hey, Susan Hendricks. I felt like I learned a lot. And I'm interested if there was something that stuck out to you that you didn't know beforehand, share it in the comment section or in the live chat so that we can like touch base between segments. But it is great to see everybody. I want to go ahead and get the segment started so that the conversation can begin. If you haven't already, feel free to go ahead and like the live stream wherever you're watching. Feel free to share so more people can come join us and join the conversation. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, what is taking so long? Don't answer that. Just go subscribe. I might be inviting in a whole bunch of requests. So just go subscribe and join the conversation. And then we're going to get the conversation started with the first segment.
That there was phone hacking going on amongst the show business team?
No, not to my knowledge.
The inaccuracy of this statement has been established.
I have seen no evidence to show me that phone hacking has ever taken place at Trinity Mac.
Ms. Bailey knew or turned a blind eye to it from about the end of 2006.
Are you able to help us again as to whether or not it's true?
I'm afraid I'm not.
I have already found that she was involved in it, and she clearly had knowledge of it.
I have no reason or knowledge to believe it was going on.
But did you see this sort of thing going on, Mr. Morgan?
No,
You sure about that?
100%.
There is compelling evidence that the editors of each newspaper knew very well that voicemail interception was being used extensively and habitually, and that they were happy to take the benefits of it.
I think the police need to investigate this.
Is that it looks as though they think that they are beyond the law. Impunity. The Murdoch company destroyed over 30 million emails during a period of about 6 months. People were beginning to sue, and Sienna Miller in particular was suing, and her lawyer had sent a letter to the Murdoch company saying, you must preserve evidence. They destroyed all of the emails up to the end of 2004.
It is clear to me that we were not told the full truth. This is a cause for a criminal investigation, and I want the Metropolitan Police to reopen their investigations into what happened. The truth is important because we are talking about basic civil liberties.
Damaging lives.
I had an inescapable abuser.
Sowing distrust.
I've become a recluse.
And shaking an industry to its core. Apologies by some and over £1 billion spent by two of Britain's biggest newspaper groups.
The News of the World, if you did less than 12 exclusives a year, you got fired. But sometimes the methods to get those stories were unlawful. Was that justified?
Perfectly, yeah, because what is in the public interest, and I think the public is capable of saying what it's interested in. And the very fact that 5 million people put their hand in their pocket and paid £1 to read it, surely that is public interest enough.
Isn't there a difference between public interest and what interests the public?
No, it's exactly the same. Yeah, I did loads of illegal things, stole things, blagged things. I did blagging, even that now is illegal. But is that illegal?
Yes.
Oh, well, anyway, it probably wasn't in the 90s.
James Hipwell was a columnist at the Daily Mirror.
I was sitting next to the showbiz journalists, and I saw phone hacking going on from the middle of 1999. I would say that I saw it happen every day. I see the Mirror now as a criminal enterprise. My column was part of that criminal enterprise. I accept that.
Charlotte Church launched into the world's media spotlight at just 11 years old. This new global superstar was in demand, but once the angelic child became a teenager,
11 hours and I'm 18.
the tabloid tone shifted.
I had an inescapable abuser. The press. They used to cut holes in hedges and stuff where we lived and where my friends lived, so they could use long lenses and we wouldn't necessarily know that they were there. And then, of course, when I was acting like a normal teenager, they sensationalized that to such a point where you would have thought that I was like completely out of control.
From the age of 16 onwards, she was being hacked by the news of the world.
There were so many articles that stood out to me as being like, there is no way, like where are they listening? My mother was already an incredibly vulnerable woman. Her mental health was really bad. I found her after taking an overdose. She was in a really bad way, and that was straight in the press.
But Hugh Grant believes that as his profile grew, so too did the illegal acts used against him.
This isn't something that's only about phone hacking. There was microphones in window boxes outside the house. There were trackers, microphones dropped into my car. There were medical records of me and mothers of my children, for instance. Perhaps most spectacularly, the burglary of both my flat and my office.
The actor recently made these claims in legal action against The Sun.
So in the case of my flat burglary, yeah, it was quite spectacular in that the whole door had been taken off its hinges. And a lot of information about the interior and the contents of my flat appeared in newspapers a couple of days later. And there's never been a burglary before or since.
But back then, Hugh says even contacting the police brought its own risks.
These people live above the law. And the police, I'm afraid, at least at that stage, were as dangerous as the reporters. If you called the police about anything, if you called them, you were absolutely sure that the first person who would turn up would not be a policeman, it would be a reporter.
Centred on Millie Dowler, a teenager who'd been murdered 7 years earlier.
Tonight, it's alleged a private detective working for the News of the World hacked into the missing girl's mobile phone and listened to her messages.
And in effect, for me, people had died underground, and I found that very difficult to deal with.
One of them, Christopher Jeffries, a retired schoolteacher who found himself in the centre of a media storm during a murder investigation.
I could barely go out. In effect, I'd become a prisoner in my own house.
Christopher had been the landlord of Joanna Yates, a young woman whose body was found in Bristol on Christmas Day in 2010. Headlines had untruthfully painted him as a snooping, over-sexualised predator, linking him to a convicted paedophile and even a previously unsolved murder.
I was subjected to all sorts of illegality, but it's further confirmation that there are almost no depths to which certain elements of the media will not stoop.
I don't trust anybody anymore. It's sad that, really.
Is there anyone that you now regret targeting?
Yes, I do regret targeting Paul Gascoigne because A, he was a hero of mine. He was actually quite a sensitive soul.
Alongside Prince Harry are 6 other claimants, including Baroness Doreen Lawrence, whose son, Stephen, was murdered in a racist attack in the 90s. She praised the Daily Mail for supporting her struggle for justice with this famous campaigning front page.
The Mail presented themselves as the champions of the Lawrence family. And if the court finds that there is persuasive evidence that Doreen Lawrence was targeted by unlawful means by the Daily Mail, that would be an act of such grotesque dishonesty and hypocrisy that it would produce, I think, national revulsion.
So, okay, there we go. So that's just to give you the gist of it. I know that there's a lot more. And then Prince Harry's segment is its own segment, and we're going to get to that. But I wanted to talk about the other victims as well. A lot of their stories would not be getting the traction. Some of them might, because some of them are celebrities or public figures in their own right. But a lot of their stories would not be getting the traction if Prince Harry had not also taken up this mission. And so I think sometimes people miss that factor, because sometimes people will say things like, Prince Harry doesn't even need to worry about this. He's living in America. He's a royal family member. He's rich. Why does he care? It's old, blah, 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 blah. But I find that people miss the fact that if he weren't involved, this documentary might not be made. And even if it were made, who's going to watch it? How many documentaries do you watch that isn't attached to a public figure or a celebrity or a recognizable face or a story that you're interested in? And so just by him being involved, it's also getting a lot of traction. But aside from that, oh, sorry, I got distracted by the live chat. Y'all know live chats, I'll just sit here and start talking to y'all, and then I'm like, oh, I got to talk to everybody. But on that fact alone, I'm really glad that Prince Harry is not only making time for this, but prioritizing this fight, because it helps everybody. Even those who are not in the UK, it helps everybody, because what it does is creates a precedent. And we talked about this yesterday in our pre-recorded video of how important it is to set those precedents in the court, because when new cases come about, they have something to base, the judges have something to base their ruling on if they've seen this play out before. And it's imperative that we get a fair ruling, somewhat like what Prince Harry got, so that it sets a precedent, but also in the future when other people are violated who may not have the means to go above and beyond and pursue this for years on end, they have something that's already laid groundwork that will help them beat the odds of winning in court. And so it's important that Prince Harry does take on this fight, although I always want to acknowledge this technically isn't even his particular fight. This is something he suffered from and he experienced, but because of his level of success, he can afford, and he has the means to detach himself completely from these things. The fact that he still takes on the fight is something I find to be extremely commendable, and I really do appreciate, as a regular Joe Schmo or Joanna Schmoanna, I appreciate when public figures, especially those with resources, pursue these things, because they're restoring our civil liberties. And on a global scale, they're setting a precedent so that maybe perhaps the media here in America can see what's going on and say, okay, maybe we need to ease off of, paying paparazzi or buying those pictures, or maybe taking our own liberties with obtaining information. Maybe we're seeing that, oh, they're winning in court. We might lose our platform. We may have to pay off millions. It's just not worth it. We'll have to go another way or another route to get the story. And that's the goal. So I appreciate everyone who's taking up this fight. And I appreciate Prince Harry making sure that this gets a global spotlight. It's very important. They robbed Hugh Grant's house. Did y'all see? That's the thing that stuck out to me, because I just had everything else I kind of knew about. That was the thing that completely shocked me. I had no idea. And not robbed. I shouldn't say robbed. Burglarized, because they didn't take anything other than information, but that's still in and of itself a theft. Not only his house, his flat, but also his office. Took the door off the hinges. Do you know what kind of rabid psychopath you have to be like, got to have the information and just shake the door off? Like, it's just so maniacal. Like, think about Hugh Grant, rich, globally recognized, highly successful, very powerful person, very powerful friends and affiliates. I would expect that he has the highest level of security. If they can get into his, not only his house, but his office, don't stand a chance. Most of the people in this live chat don't stand a chance against forces like that if they want our information. And to find out that they allegedly hacked Dorian Lawrence, how awful. That woman has already been through hell and back. To put her through that, just like the segment said, just like the documentary said, that's something that on a public perception level, they would never be able to escape from. But they're not able to escape from the lack of public perception they have with me. After what the Daily Fail did to Meghan and her letter, it doesn't get much lower than that. So to find out that it actually does, and they actually went to those depths allegedly, I'm not shocked, but I am disappointed. I'm not even disappointed. I'm disgusted. I'm disgusted. Where there's smoke, there's a fire. I don't feel like any of these claims are without merit at all. And something I keep hearing people ask whenever someone whistleblows, like who's in the media, the whole documentary, anytime someone would whistleblow, the question is, well, what's your motive? Some may say you're trying to get payback. Some may say you're trying to get revenge. I want to make it clear, I don't care why someone pursues doing the right thing. Whatever got them there eventually, I'm glad. I don't personally care. If there's some sort of personal gain, that's less important to me than actually obtaining whatever accountability is due. That's what's important to me. I do understand motivation and people having a motive and all that stuff, but that's less important to me than actually pursuing doing the right thing. That's just me. But hi, Queen Verta Sanchez. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. You do not have to apologize for being late. I have not been consistent with my live stream times. Thank y'all for bearing with me because I moved. Y'all, can y'all believe I still don't have my stuff? Everything in our place right now, we purchased. Like none of my things are here yet. They're in transit. I have a what is it called? The little Apple AirTag. I have that so I can see, and they also send me a tracker, but no pictures on the wall, just a little blah wall, just a blah wall. But anyway, we're going to get through it. And when we get some decor, we're going to put it right on up. I miss seeing Harry, Meghan, and Diana sitting above me. I miss that. But anyway, so I'm going to go through some of the comments because I want to hear you guys' voices. This is a discussion, so I'm excited to see what you guys have to say. Hi, Karen M. Karen M says, I learned a lot. Me too. Me too. I honestly expected to learn some new things, but I don't know that I expected to learn this much. I didn't. I mean, they really broke it down. And also something that even though I cover the court cases, I appreciated how they went in depth into what each court case was covering and all that stuff, and kind of was a nice refresher because sometimes it can be a little confusing. So anytime there's a new development, I have to go back to the beginning and research all the way up until the present to remember everything, because each court case is in a different phase and they're all happening at the same time. I was happy Prince Harry got the win in December. We celebrated hard here, but another reason, like reason 2B of why I was excited was because that was one less court case we had to track, because I was just like, oh my gosh. Each of these court cases are in a different phase and there's so many different aspects, but so many similar aspects, and they could get kind of confusing. So I was glad that they broke it down the way they did. They did a wonderful job. Hi, Ron M. Ron M says, UK media are practicing stochastic terrorism is targeted political violence that has been instigated by hostile public rhetoric, which is directed at a group or an individual. That is correct. Thank you for putting that in the chat. I appreciate that. You are absolutely right about that. Hi, Lakiva McGee. It's good to see you. Lakiva McGee says, the UK media has no problem hurting anyone as long as they receive money. Y'all, now listen, I'm a believer in capitalism to a certain extent, but I'm more than that. I'm a believer in humanity. And when there is when there's more privilege, or when there's more of a focus on capitalism than it is humanity, which capitalism is here to benefit humanity. Once we start focusing only on capitalism and monetary gain, and we stop caring about people, we've taken a dark turn. And I think for many, many years, society has taken a very, very, very dark turn where we do not care about people over money. I don't get it. but that's a me thing. I have never in any way cared more about money or financial gain than I care about people and human life, or not just human life, but just living beings in general. It really doesn't, it goes right over my head when people do that. Like for bosses who keep their employees late. Like these people have families. Like even something that seems like, oh, that's normal. Sometimes people have to work overtime. No, you need to properly staff your company so that people can come in and leave at a decent time. People can properly map out their day and organize their work and organize their workload so that they're not trying to beat the buzzer every day and stay till 9 p.m. I had a company keep me until 10 p.m. one time because we had a fraud issue. It was then that I decided that I would be leaving. I was like, I'm sorry, y'all are understaffed. If I've been here since 7 and you need me till 10 p.m., I'm in the wrong place. And that's just a small example of just capitalism being put over humanity. But at some point, people have to stop and say, is this who I am? Is this who I've become? Is this how I would want people to treat my mother or my grandmother? The first thing I would say to people when I would train them in my customer service department was treat everyone as if it's your grandmother. Treat everyone as if your grandmother asks you to explain something, you're not going to go, oh, here we go. No, you're going to say, it's fine, grandma. Where did I lose you? Or where do you need more help? Or what's the area that you're confused about? Or can you explain to me what you know so far? And we'll pick up. You would be gentle. This is so random. I went to Brahms the other day. I've been having fun in Texas. I went to Brahms the other day and I asked for a triple scoop of chocolate in a cup. I was having fun. But I'm back keto. But I asked for a triple scoop of chocolate in a cup. And that woman was like, a cup. And I said, yes. And she was like, we out on the floor. I have to go to the bed. And I was just kind of like, oh. Can you go to the back? And I know that's so silly, but the reason I bring that up is treating people poorly is not, it doesn't help anyone. She still had to go to the back, but she'd made not only me, but everybody else in line uncomfortable because we were all like, damn, that was rude, girl. But you know what? If her area had been properly set up or stocked or whatever, she wouldn't have had to have that happen. If they had been properly staffed. I'm not going to say the location because I love Brahms. I don't want to get anybody in trouble. But if they had been properly staffed, she would have had someone that could do that for her or back her up or help her up. It would have been a better experience of teamwork. Instead, because they short-staffed and didn't stock everything like they were supposed to, the customer had to feel it, but also it ruined our little fun, comfortable interaction. Because I could have been like, thank you, girl. I've been waiting on this ice cream all day. Instead, I was like, thank you. Have a good day. I just shoot off. I was scared to say anything else, child. But anyway, humanity has to come before profit. Humanity has to come before your financial gain. Humanity at some point has to come before capitalism. And I'm making a joke as far as like what happened to me at an ice cream parlor. But when that affects our media, our source for news, I needed to be very clear that at the time that most of this was happening, we didn't have social media. So at any point, I can look up Twitter, turn on my VPN, and I can see what's going on in Singapore. I can see what's going on in the UK. I can see what's going on in South Africa because I have social media. But back in the 90s and early 2000s, the most we had was AOL chats. And even then, it was moderated chat rooms and you couldn't say anything. We weren't getting our news from a wide array of places. We couldn't depend on the boots on the ground, the D. Ray McKessons. We couldn't depend on the Kid Furies and the Crystals to tell us what's going on in New York and all these other places. We had to rely on our news. Do you know how dangerous that is when the news itself is corrupt and then backed by the police? When Hugh Grant said, thank you, Kat Harlem. Woohoo, I caught a live show. Yes, woohoo, indeed. Thank you for being here. That's a cool profile picture. But you know how insane it is when the only news source you have is telling you a story and a narrative of their own making? And then on top of that, a narrative that they've obtained by hacking and stealing and corruption. That's scary. Trust and believe. I don't need to know anything that bad. I don't want to know about celebrities' lives that bad to the point where you're going in their voicemails. I'll wait. If I want to know who Soulja Boy is dating, I don't want you going into that man's house to get that info. If I want to know where Beyonce's visuals are, I don't need you going into that house to get them. They broke into Beyonce's storage unit in LA at one point trying to get information. The media is a madhouse. It is a madhouse. But I'm talking about the phone hacking back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Back then, we didn't have news to depend on in other sources. We depended on our established news sources in those platforms. So when they were delivering information, that's all we had. So when they're biased and they're turning people against an individual or an entity or a family, they're wielding a lot of power, a lot of dangerous power. They have the power to create a mob. Now, here's the craziest part. In a time when we do have social media, in a time where we do have video platforms like the YouTubes, like the Patreons, like the Vimeos, we have access to each other. The media was still able to turn an entire country against one woman because she was biracial. In the age of social media. Not only that, but I was about to say Beyonce. Not only that, but Megan had her own platform and her own fame, and they still accomplished turning people against her and misrepresenting her. That's how much power they have. She was well known, had been working for years, had a whole reputation, and not only had worked, she wasn't at no regular job where these people aren't known. She worked at the U.S. Embassy in Argentina. She worked on suits. She worked with Hallmark. She had worked with some very reputable and established brands and companies, and with some very reputable and established people. And the media was still able to persuade an entire country to dislike her. That's power. And that's power wielded in the wrong direction. That's terrifying to me, because what if he had dated someone without their own platform and without millionaires and celebrities to vouch for them? It's scary what they were able to do. It's sad what they were able to do to Megan in general. She didn't deserve that. But the fact that she had so much going for her and they were still able to accomplish attacking her in the way that they did, how can anybody look at that story, aside from how you feel about Harry and Meghan, how can anybody look at that story and feel safe? How can anybody look at what they did to Hugh Grant and feel safe? How can anyone look at what they did to Paul Gascoigne and feel safe? I don't. I absolutely don't. Oh, thank you so much, Hen Pal. Nice to have you back. It's good to be back. I'm glad we were able to come to a little understanding. So I missed you guys. But anyway, let me get off my soapbox. When Hugh Grant went on to say that they were putting trackers in his cars, and of course, we read a lot of this in Spare of what they were doing to Harry and his ex-girlfriend. And I was shocked then. Y'all remember I recapped the book and I was recapping some of it live. So I was reading certain segments like, oh my God, they really did that to that man. I was mad on Harry's behalf. I was like, move aside, Harry. Take me to court with you so I can cuss them out, because they can't sue me. I'm not from there. I'll come back to America and hide. Let me at them, because I want to go at somebody. I could not believe they treated him like that. And then when you get into the for what? For what? Why do that? So you can have a story. I'm sorry, this is also part of my issue. When people continue to blame capitalism for what the media was doing. It's too many successful businesses out here, billion-dollar, trillion-dollar businesses that are not hacking into our information. So that's not a necessity to make money. That was some nonsense you chose to do. As an editor, that was some nonsense you chose to permit. As a reporter, that was some nonsense you chose to partake in. You chose to do that to make financial gain. You chose to do that to keep your job. But at the end of the day, I understand the pressure of wanting to succeed in your field. I understand the pressure of wanting to make your business successful. I understand the pressure of capitalism in general and succeeding in this dog-eat-dog world. I get it. I work in the corporate world. As a Black woman, it don't get no more dog-eat-dog than that. It don't get no more dog-eat-dog than that. And I get it. You have to make a lot of sacrifices. But at no point was it ever not a choice. Every time they said, well, to keep my job, I had to have 12 headlines. Then you should have had 12 headlines. Go network. Go undercover. Go make some friends. Go do some investigative reporting. Go report. You don't have to hack. You don't have to steal. You don't have to be nefarious. You don't have to do any of the things that they're being accused of. I mean, some people died attached to this. It doesn't just stop there. So when people blame capitalism, I understand the underlying reason of wanting to succeed in competition and a free market. I get it. 100%. I understand that aspect. That doesn't mean you need to break the law to achieve that. If you have to break the law to do your job, you're not good at your job. Because if I went outside, let's say I have a store and I'm selling Sharion's flowers. I'm selling flowers at my flower shop, my floral store. Y'all come to my floral store. And somebody walked by and I'm like, I'm not getting enough customers. I'm going to start slapping people in the head with brooms and tell them to come inside and buy something, or I'm going to hit you with my broom. I would go to jail. You cannot break the law to succeed. And then to find out police were complicit. When Hugh Grant said, if I called the police, even when my girlfriend got mugged, when we call the police, reporters show up. That don't alarm anybody. That's not scary, especially to regular people. But when they hacked a deceased young girl's phone and her voicemails, I almost cried. Like I got physically like sick almost. I was angry. I'm glad I didn't live stream last night because I would have been red-faced and puffy and mad. Y'all would have seen a little big old bun on top of my head, no makeup, half an eyebrow, just yelling. I was so irritated. I said, you know what? I'm going to finish this in the morning. I'm going to wait in the morning when I'm in my peaceful zone because these people are running me ragged. And they absolutely were. Hi, Alice Langdon. Alice says, hello, Sharion. I agree with you. Welcome back. You were missed. Thank you so much. Y'all have the best looking profile pictures. Thank you so much. It's so good to be back. And I appreciate the super chat from everybody. Y'all are awesome. Okay, let me go through some of the comments. Now, I said this was a discussion and I just been talking. Y'all, that's just so rude. I'm worse than them. At least I'm not stealing your information, though. You see what I'm saying? That's the difference. Okay. Hi, Yasmin Page. Yasmin says, several politicians were outed who were having affairs. They were from the current Labor Party, conservative and Libden parties. Diana Squidgygate tapes and Charles and Camilla Tampongate. Yep, you are absolutely right. And see, the thing is, I understand the public's interest and I understand things that interest the public. If you can get the story, then get the story. If you have to break the law or violate people's civil freedoms and civil liberties or just humanity in general to get the story, then the story was not yours to get. And I don't understand how people don't get that. So much good can come from really good investigative reporting. And I talk about that all the time. Good investigative reporters keep us informed and it's necessary. But like I said, if you can't do the job within the margins of people's civil liberties and within the margins of legality, then you can't do the job. Then that job is not for you. Try another field. If you want to go make up something, why don't you go be a screenwriter? Like there's something for everybody. Everybody not meant to be doing everything. Hi, Ron M. Ron M says, the UK twins, I do not know their name, but I have seen their channel and it is Hate and Popcorn channel that they are example of stochastic terrorism. It's targeted political violence. Every video is hate on M. I know who you're talking about. I'm not going to say their name because I don't want them to get any more publicity. They're way bigger than me, so they don't care. But yes, I know exactly who you talk about. And it's a group of them. They all stream together. They stream separately, but that's the whole gist of it. Even that Body Language Psycho, he has now rebranded from Body Language, which is what he used to do, like body language regarding like corporate environment or when you're giving a speech or blah, blah, blah. Now he calls himself like the Royal Crusader or something. Now his whole brand is attacking Harry and Meghan. That old therapist who used to do therapy videos about fictional characters, his whole brand now is hating on Harry and Meghan. It is $1 million business to hate two people who have done nothing wrong. Thank you, Ron M, for giving us that information, though. I appreciate you sharing that. Please keep it coming. Oh, wow. Okay, let's go. Oh, here we go. Okay, let me try with this comment. Hi, Ron M. Ron M says we need to start labeling this hate. It absolutely is hate. And I think properly naming things helps people to recognize it for what it is. When we give things like soft names and soft monikers, we're minimizing and dismissing the true harm that's done. That's why I hate when people call violent, racist white women. I hate when people call them Karens. First of all, I have a sister-in-law named Karen, and she's a lovely woman. But I hate when people call them Karens, because that was a joke. That was more of an inside joke for our community. But when that came out, it started to label these very heinous acts of true domestic terrorism, trying to get Black men and Black women killed, using the police force and their excessive force against Black people, using that to harm Black people and to assert dominance and power in public spaces. And you're calling those people Karens. That ain't a Karen, that's a terrorist. We have to start properly labeling things what they are. Thank you so much, Ron M. You are absolutely right. Okay, I'm still going down the live chat. It's a lot of people in here today. Welcome, y'all. Hi, Lulu Brown. It's good to see you. Thank you so much for the super chat. Lulu Brown says, me too. Love to catch a live show. I'm so glad. I'm trying to get better at going live more. Now that I've moved, it's a lot easier, but I can't wait to get my desk and everything. I'm on a little makeshift table right now. I had to go downstairs and grab one. Okay, I'm trying to get through the chat, you guys. I'm so sorry. I'm going so slow. It's so good to see y'all here. I'm glad. Yes, this documentary did provide a lot of truth. It did provide a lot of depth for some of the things that even we were familiar with. It provided a lot of depth, and I appreciated the level that she went through. Rebecca, am I getting her name right? Rebecca Berry. Rebecca Berry went into depth with a lot of these things that I was familiar with, especially for the international audience, and helped keep us informed. I appreciate that she did that. Hi, Catty Gabby. Catty Gabby says, that's how we know it's about power, exploitation, and deliberate choice. They know exactly what they're doing. Somewhat scary. You're right. It is. It is. It's about power and being in charge. I cannot stand that. It's scary too. Some people are so power hungry. They will literally mow over anyone and anything to get it. And then once you get it, now what? Oh, I guess we do know Trump. That's what happens when someone's unrelenting obsession with power dominates them. They steamroll over people doing good, and look what we got, 4 years of hell. Hopefully we do not repeat that. Hi, Karen M. Karen M says, I believe that Suits would not have gotten a spinoff or the life of the original series if it wasn't for Meghan and Harry fans worldwide. Truth be told, I 100% agree. That's what breathed new life into that show. It's a great show, great acting, great writing. It's a wonderful show. But the second leg of enthusiasm and everything that's come from that, that's squatties. That's squatties. And pretty much everybody has been saying that on the show. Everybody from the show has been saying it. And Meghan was so sweet. When she was asked about it, she was like, it's great writing. And that's what you get with a good show. It stands the test of time. She's so humble. But we all know the truth. We're like, you're right, Meghan. That's true too. But it's you, ma'am. It's you. People are excited about seeing you. And it's nice to see her in her element as an actress too, especially since we no longer get that side of her. It is great to revisit it. She's a very, very talented actress. So it was nice to revisit that. And I'm excited to see what she produces behind the scenes too, and for her new projects for Netflix. So that'll be exciting. She's very creative. Hi, Kevin Grant. Kevin Grant says, every UK worker has 6 weeks paid holiday by law as soon as they start work, as well as paid maternity leave, not just some people. That's great. I'm in America, so that's not for, that's not a me thing. But I appreciate you telling me that about the UK. But my comments about working overtime and not getting a break were more so regarding capitalism being more important than humanity. And also, I'm speaking from the perspective of an American. I'm sure with the accent, I hope you could tell I'm not from the UK. So that's great to hear that that's happening in the UK. But more so, back to my point, capitalism has become more important than humanity, and that's a problem. So I'm glad that you guys mitigate that over there. We need to do some of that over here, but that is not the case worldwide. So thanks, Kevin Grant, for telling me that, but it is not the case over here or in most places, actually. But that is great. We need to have that be a global thing. You are right, Ron M. Let's see. Oh, hi, Alice Langdon. Thank you for the super chat. Alice Langdon says, hello, Sharion. I agree with you. Welcome back. You were missed. Did I read yours already? I think I did. Oh, Karen M. What about learning you are being dumped by your girlfriend through the tabloids like Harry found out? That was... See, when I'm talking about safety, sometimes things aren't a physical threat, but an emotional and a mental threat. Because that's something that can make somebody lose it. That is very stressful. I can't imagine what that would feel like. Like, first of all, being broken up with, especially when you really like or even love someone, is tough. Heartbreak is real. Heartbreak is really real. However, finding out in that way, and then in a public manner, how embarrassing. It's almost like they were trying to destroy him. And I don't even think they were trying to destroy him. I think they just didn't care whether they did or whether they didn't. Again, chasing the almighty dollar. It's a shame, a complete shame. Oh, man. Charlotte Church. Thank you for bringing that up. Hi, Super Stella 1111. Oh, Charlotte Church, that poor darling. A child going through regular child things, living a regular teenage life. And they turn that girl, they call her in everything but a child of God. They talk so bad about her. And then what happened to her mom? And she found her mom. And when she said her mom has never fully recovered from what was said about her, I believe it. First of all, seeing anybody talk about your kid, that can bring up something, but seeing a lot of people just misrepresent your child and degrade your child and just get to say whatever they want. Like, where's the shame? Even when they're talking about, oh, well, the reason they do it is because people buy the tabloids. I'm glad that we have things like Yelp or Google reviews or ways that the public can voice their opinion about services, products, etc. But one of the best things that has come from social media is the comment section, because now people can call out headlines like that. People can talk about headlines like that. People can push back against these big media platforms when they do things like this. The problem is, I'm glad about the comment section, but the problem for me is also the fact that not enough people get mad about stuff like that. Not enough people care. Some people are like, oh, they're rich, they're famous, they'll be fine. And it's like, but that's still a human. When you have $100 in your bank account, if I come punch you in the face or talk about your mama, if you have $0 in your bank account the next day, is it going to hurt any less? Does it hurt? No, you're still a human, no matter what's in your bank account, no matter what kind of fame you have. I understand saying, oh, well, I have so much in this regard, I'm not going to let this get to me. That's true for certain things. Like, I don't have to drive in traffic. I can call a driver because I have the ends to mitigate that inconvenience. That's one thing. But when you're talking about harassing someone's child or harassing someone's mother or abusing someone, money don't matter. Look what Harry said. He literally said, I can't bring my wife back because it's a threat. When you energize a hateful base of people, this torrid underbelly of hateful, deceitful, nefarious characters who all have a bias that you are stoking, that you are intentionally igniting this anger towards one person. Some of these people don't have anything to lose. Some of these people are totally fine with going to jail behind their cause. Some of these people, 3 hats and a cot is a step up from how they're living. You're igniting people to cause actual harm. What makes me mad is the fact that people debate these topics like, oh, well, Harry's rich. These people are never going to get close to Meghan, blah, blah, blah. I hate when people debate it because we've seen people literally try to harm them. This isn't some kind of hypothetical. We've seen people try to harm them. We talked about it on this channel here, that there are some people who literally tried to create a mob to go to Harry and Meghan's house. And it's all hypothetical. It don't have any repercussions, just a few hurt feelings, as if the hurt feelings weren't enough. They're having true consequences. It's just so sad. And then Paul Dadge, I mean, the fact that he was a regular person, just a regular person living a regular life, he did something that was so super courageous, and they made his life a living hell because of it. Way to thank your heroes. Just so sad. Anyway, Hi, TCC Sun. It's good to see you. TCC Sun said, yeah, welcome back. Thank you for the super chat. And it is nice to be back. This is a good documentary, y'all. I could be talking about this all day. Hi, Queen Verta Sanchez. We miss you and your beautiful voice. Go ahead and talk. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Hi, Kevin Grant. Kevin Grant says, trust me, I'm British. We don't all hate Harry and Meghan, even though the media do their best to turn us against them. See, that's the part. Thank you so much, Kevin Grant, for your comment. You know what makes me mad is that y'all miss out because of what they're doing. Y'all miss out. And I can tell you, I know for a fact the British people don't hate Harry and Meghan, because when I was there for just an hour waiting on my flight, I had on my Invictus Games t-shirt, and several people stopped me and asked me about it and asked, was I going, etc. Because my connecting flight to the German airport was through Heathrow, and I was wearing my Invictus Games shirt, and several people stopped me to say something. Several people. So I knew that just from firsthand experience, but also I know that from my comment section. I know that from my live streams. Y'all know that. Look how many British people follow the other Sussex Squad channels and support Harry and Meghan's causes. That's why part of me was very happy that the Invictus Games was going to go to Birmingham, because I thought it was a full circle moment of it being back in the UK. But I also was nervous, and I was like, I hope that they're both able to enjoy the event and the program. And after this interview, I don't know. I don't think Meghan's gonna be able to go. Y'all let me know. What do you think about that? I might be missing something. So y'all keep me up to date. Hi, Rosita. Thank you so much. Rosita says, Sharion, we come here to listen to you talk. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Ron M says, Emmett Till, because of white woman tears, Meghan hate increased 200%. White women tears, Kate's lie on Meghan. Yeah, it is extremely volatile for people to turn on sympathy and bias and racism to get their way. And it doesn't just happen in extreme cases. It also happens in mundane cases. It happens all the time. I told y'all about my corporate experiences. I never would have thought it could happen to me, just because I work really hard. I get along with everybody. I always go into things with a positive attitude, but I learned quickly that in the corporate world, those things matter a little, but who you know and being able to, being able to assimilate is more important. And I really struggled to find a really healthy work environment because I was in some pretty racist spaces. When I started working with bigger companies versus smaller kind of mom and pop shops, I actually did find a lot more legalities protected me because of the size of the company. And I experienced a lot less, which was the opposite of what I expected. But I've had some experiences too where people weaponized their social standing and how racist people could be and biases against me over something as small as a correction that needed to be made, crying and saying I'm bullying. And I'm like, okay, well, I got to be able to correct you because you're my employee. And that only matters a little. People will literally look for any way to exercise their bias, even when it's illegal to do so. So I fully understand where you're coming from, Ron. Hi, Shirley Holland. Shirley Holland says, the British tabloids are horrible. Shame on them. And what Hugh Grant said about trying to get help for burglaries and muggings is really sad. I don't know why that shocked me the way it did. I feel like I knew all along that there had to be some corruption for it to go on as long as it has, and for them to have had very little pushback. But I don't know that I thought it was that blatant, where if you call 911, the reporters show up. It was quite shocking. Hi, Corlita Simon. Thank you for the super sticker. I appreciate it. Hi, Kevin Grant. Kevin Grant says, people's support for the royal family is on the decline, even though we have so much royal propaganda in the UK. You know, I talk so much crap about the royal family. One of the things that I want to preface it with saying, I talk crap about the royal family all the time because I don't like what they stand for. But before they completely showed their asses with Meghan, I will say I did enjoy some of those moments. I did enjoy seeing Queen Elizabeth pop up. I always enjoyed seeing Harry. When Harry and Meghan became an item, I was so excited about that. I was like, oh, I cannot wait to see her and all her regalia and all that. I was excited. So it can be fun to watch. What they're doing is squandering something that really could be a morale booster. And they're turning it, well, it's always been kind of corrupt, but what they could be doing with it and the impact they could be making, especially with that kind of influence and that kind of platform, it's so much, it could be so much bigger than what they're allowing it to be. They're using their personal vendettas and their own personal goals and missions instead of using the platform for the people. And that's disappointing. I don't appreciate that. It's very sad. Okay, so you guys keep commenting. It's time for us to talk about Harry specifically, but we're going to continue the full conversation at the end, but it's time for the Harry segment. But please keep commenting and then I'll respond when we return. I just wanted to take a super short break to say, if you have not already, please don't forget to go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel, and if you are interested, feel free to participate in the live chat going on now, or feel free to leave a comment if you do not wish to engage in the live chat. Once again, I know I do this all the time. I'm enjoying a channel, I'm enjoying the video, I'm just having a great time, and I completely forget to hit subscribe. So please don't forget to hit subscribe. Don't forget to comment if you wish, and please don't forget to hit that thumbs up button so that the algorithm on YouTube knows that you like my content. Now, let's get back to the show.
I don't think there's anybody else in the world that is better suited to be able to see this through than myself. I'm trying to get justice for everybody.
Can you just describe what it is that you're looking at?
A very young photograph of me, a headline saying Harry's taking drugs, smoking dope with pals in the pub.
What goes through your head when you see that now?
I don't even know what to say anymore.
Prince Harry's High Court case against Mirror Group newspapers.
Today is a great day for truth, as well as accountability.
The judge ruled that phone hacking and unlawful information gathering was habitual and widespread at the Mirror, the Sunday Mirror, and the People for more than a decade. But it all might not have happened without the persistence and financial firepower of an aggrieved and angry prince.
Yeah, and I did feel vindicated. Phone hacking has been going on for a long time. It's especially the defendants, claim for it to be historical. Well, there's a huge amount that has come to light now that people and the British public especially simply have no idea about.
What kind of criminal tactics Mirror Group newspapers used against you?
Well, there's voicemail interception, blagging of flight records. It was always referred to as just phone hacking, but it's the unlawful information gathering and the use of private investigators that was really the secondary part to this. To go in there and come out and have the judge rule in our favor was obviously huge, but for him to go as far as he did with regard to, this wasn't just the individual people, this went right up to the top. This was lawyers, this was high executives, and to be able to achieve that in a trial, and that's a monumental victory. Those days, the paparazzi was something else. I mean, something extraordinary. I remember that night out. I remember the paparazzi trying to get in the door, to get in the car. I remember being hit over the head by cameras. I remember my security doing everything they could to try to keep them away. It felt like harassment. It felt horrible then, it feels horrible now.
The mistake that Goodman and Mulcair made was to target the one group of people in this country who have more prestige and more power than Rupert Murdoch and his company, the royal family.
I think paranoia it's a very interesting word because, yes, then it could be paranoia. But then when you're vindicated, it proves that you weren't being paranoid. Same with my mother. There is evidence to suggest that she was being hacked in the mid-90s, probably one of the first people to be hacked. And yet, still today, the tabloid press, very much enjoy painting her as being paranoid. But she wasn't paranoid. She was absolutely right of what was happening to her. And she's not around today to find out the truth.
Some will question whether there's an element of payback here too.
No, I know that it is clear now to everybody that the risk of taking on the press and the risk of such retaliation from them by taking these claims forward, it's clearly not in my interest to do that. Look at what has happened in the last 4 years to me, my wife, and my family, right? So that was a very hard decision for me to make, which is how bad is it going to get?
Some people would say that you're taking on these high profile battles, but that actually attracts more attention onto you.
There is more than enough attention on me and my wife anyway. They pushed me too far. It got to a point where you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. I don't think there's anybody else in the world that is better suited and placed to be able to see this through than myself. It's still dangerous, and all it takes is one lone actor, one person who reads this stuff to act on what they have read. And whether it's a knife or acid, whatever it is, and these are things that are a genuine concern for me. It's one of the reasons why I won't bring my wife back to this country.
Both your father and your sister-in-law have been unwell. It's a reminder, I guess, to all of us that life is precious. Does it ever just make you think, this is not worth it? Life is just too short for these legal battles.
I don't think the continuation of these legal battles is the sort of, the two things are completely separate. My father and my sister-in-law and me, following through on these legal battles are two completely different things. That is the plan. If I can get to trial, then we're talking over a decade's worth of evidence, most of which has never ever been known to the public. That's the goal.
Some will say there have been multiple criminal investigations, there have been convictions, millions of pounds have been paid out in compensation. Some will wonder, why are you still fighting?
Because that evidence needs to come to the surface. And then after that, the police can then make their mind up, because this country and the British public deserve better.
Prince Harry's mission stands in stark contrast to his brother's approach. In 2020, Prince William reportedly settled out of court with Newsgroup newspapers for what's been described as a very large sum of money. To what extent do you think that your determination to fight the tabloids destroyed the relationship with your family?
I think there's, that's certainly a central piece to it. But that's a hard question to answer, because anything I say about my family results in a torrent of abuse from the press. I've made it very clear that this is something that needs to be done. It would be nice if we did it as a family. I believe that, again, from a service standpoint, and when you're in a public role, that these are the things that we should be doing for the greater good. But I'm doing this for my reasons.
What do you think of their decision not to fight in the way that you have?
I think everything that's played out has shown people what the truth of the matter is. For me, the mission continues, but it's caused, as you say, part of a rift.
You said in court documents that the Queen, your granny as you call her, supported your claim. What do you think she would think of what you're doing now?
I wish we had many conversations before she passed. This is very much something that she supported. She knew how much this meant to me. I mean, she's very much up there going, see this through to the end, without question.
Good afternoon, Harry. What do you hope to change through this court battle, Harry?
The repercussions of all this are a long way from subsiding. For Prince Harry and others, the fight continues.
I wanted to weigh in on Prince Harry's answers from his interviews. I felt that the way that Prince Harry answered these questions were not only poignant and specific and right to the point, very clear, cut and dry, no frill. You got your answer. This is my statement. It's done right here. I appreciate that. He does not hem and haw. I can't tell you how frustrating it can be when people are asked a direct question and they give you 17 stories, 45 analogies, 16 metaphors. They go around, above, below the point, but they never go right through it. And something I've come to appreciate about the way Prince Harry not only answers interview questions, but the way he gives speeches, the way that he spoke and narrated his own story in Spare, the way that he conducted the interviews and the narration of Harry and Meghan, the docuseries. When it's his opportunity to use his voice, he is straight to the point, cut and dry, no frill. This is your answer. And I wanted to point this out because in the age of misinformation, disinformation, illusions, AI, media trickery, and smoke and mirrors, one thing we have grown accustomed to as the general public is the frill. It's the dog and pony show. It's the answer like this and raise your left eyebrow like this and point like this and use these hand motions. It's the preparation. It's the oversaturated responses, the highly ambiguous storytelling. We've gotten used to the show. We've gotten used to the manipulation. We've gotten used to being marketed to all the time. And when we see truth, bare bones, no frill, no fur, no smoke, no mirrors, no anything, just the God honest truth, it can feel like a relief. I almost didn't put my camera back up. I had started talking and I was like, where am I? So sorry, y'all. I'm still getting used to the controls. But yes, so I wanted to finish that off by saying, you know, Prince Harry's conduct in the interview and the way he answers questions, it was such a welcome interview. For me, it was. I just felt like I wish everyone could answer questions like this that don't put on a show, that don't give you a million and one different analogies, that don't go on and on and on about something that's not related to the question. If you've seen the presidential debates, you saw Trump lie. I think it was like 300 times. I can't remember what the final count was. And at times he just didn't even answer the questions that was asked. He just started talking. He's a blowhard. That's what they do. And the moderators didn't do a damn thing about it. And CNN didn't even fact check. But anyway, we got to answer for that now, didn't we? But the point is, it was really nice to watch how Harry answered these questions because he knows his stuff. He knows the facts. He knows the data. He knows dates. He can recite it like the back of his hands. This is a man who's not only lived through it, but he's a well-studied man. He's fully prepared, and he sat down and he spoke nothing but facts. And I really appreciated the fact that he could answer those questions so clearly. Now, I had an issue with several questions that were asked, and I'm still in the middle. So on one end, I immediately got defensive. I immediately got irritated. The cancer question. So when Rebecca Berry asked him, being that life is so short, do you feel like pursuing these legal battles, do you second guess pursuing these legal battles knowing that your dad and sister-in-law have cancer? I'm on the fence about how to feel about that because I felt like, one, it wasn't related. It wasn't related to the question. It wasn't related to the topic. The documentary isn't about the royal family's illnesses or the royal family's everyday. The topic is about phone hacking. And in every other interview, you're asking them about the topic at hand. But with Prince Harry, you're asking him about family risks, which is closely related. But I would have loved for her to take another step and ask herself, why is it closely related? Why, when I ask you about phone hacking and the media corruption and the unlawful information gathering, do I also in tandem have to ask you about your family? Keep going, Rebecca. You're almost there. I would have loved for her to make the connection that his family was also participating. So instead of asking about the cancer, which is unfortunate, but also unrelated, I would have loved for her to ask, now, when you found out your family was selling stories to the media because they're racist, do you use that as motivation to pursue this fight, to create less media corruption? Because you should, because I can understand your motivation, because I get it, because that's a terrible position to be put in by your family. Instead, I felt like the question was misguided. I also feel like if you're going to ask the cancer question, if you're going to ask the question regarding life is short, okay, great. Don't ask Harry about it. Ask them. Get an interview with them and ask them that. Because here's my perspective. Let's say I'm Harry. And I look a little different, you guys. I am wearing the Invictus shirt, but let's say I'm Harry and my family just did this thing to me. And my family has been doing this thing to me my whole life. Mind you, this isn't new. They've been selling Harry and William out for a really long time. And what they did to Meghan was the coup de grace. They wanted to go full force against her because they had a personal bias, my personal belief. But here's where I'm annoyed. If I'm Harry and I'm asked about life being short, I would have been like, in my mind, now how he answered was perfect. They're unrelated. Those are separate issues. Cut dry to the point. A well-studied man, a very honest man, a direct man. And that's why she got a direct answer. Shut her right on up. But aside from that, if you're going to ask that question to Harry, you're misguided. Ask it, but ask it to Charles and William. Because I can tell you this, if I were Harry, I would be like, Oh, I don't know life is short. He who lost his mother at 12 years old didn't know life was short. You could have fooled me. If anybody knows life is short, it's the man who lost his mom when he was a kid. And why did he lose his mom? Why was life so short for his mom? Because of the media corruption, because of the incentive to get the story against whatever humanity you have to mow over. Even Princess Diana, someone who dedicated her life to helping people. It's okay as long as you get the story, as long as we get to meet our bottom line goals, as long as we get the money, as long as we sell the paper, no matter what you got to do, even if you got to kill a princess. When you ask people like Harry, who have seen the worst of what life can offer you by losing your mom, when you ask people like him whether or not they know life is short, and if whether or not what they've chosen to focus their time on is appropriate, considering life is so short, you're basically saying, sure, people have been infringing upon your civil liberties. Sure, people have been trying to kill your wife because of the media that you're currently going after. Sure, we know this same media killed your mom, but did you know life was short? Excuse me? The reason I know life is short is because they took his mother already. The reason we know life is short and the reason Harry didn't need to be asked that is because we have watched how the media has incentivized causing harm to Meghan. I watched the media play out with the whole New York City car chase. You don't have to tell anybody who follows this couple that life is short because you've been trying to take theirs ever since they said no more. So the question that's been asked needs to be asked. Life is short. Do you think you should continue to pursue this? But don't ask Harry that because he's on the right side of the issue. Ask Charles. Ask Charles, hey, Charles, life is short. Do you really think that you should continue creating a rift with your son and his wife? Hey, Charles, life is short and you old as hell. Do you think you should lose any more time with your grandkids? Hey, Charles, life is short. Don't you think you should back your son in court? Don't you think you should reach out to Ravek to make sure your son can come to the UK safely? Hey, Charles, life is short. And we know this because you lost your wife when she was 36 years old. And the same media giant, the enterprise that took her life, has been pursuing your daughter-in-law nonstop at the behest of your oldest son. Life is short. No more pain, no more loss. Don't you think you should back your youngest son so that you guys as a family can come together and handle these things so that you can get back to being a family and continue to be public servants together? Hey, Charles, life is short. Why are you continuing to sell stories about your son and his wife and these hypotheticals through your sources and through your courtiers? Hey, Charles, life is short. Why don't you wrangle your oldest son and tell him to be a leader and stop bullying his brother? Oh, hey, William, life is short. Did you have to put your hands on your brother? Hey, William, life is so short that at your grandfather's funeral, you attacked your brother again. If there was ever a reminder that life was short, it's at a goddamn funeral. And at that same funeral, you attacked your brother again. Life is short. And if that question is going to be asked, you need to ask it to the people who are trying to shorten the life of the only person in their family of color. And they're using the media to do it. And if you're going to make those connections, if you're going to say, hey, well, cancer is a terrible thing, you damn right cancer is a terrible thing. And cancer hits everybody, whether you got a crown on your head or you got a mop on your head or you got a head bag on your head or you got a bonnet on your head or a headband, regardless of what you have, cancer can hit your family. Does that mean to not pursue accountability? Does that mean, oh, because your second cousin twice removed might get cancer, the people who wronged you and stole your mother from this earth, you shouldn't pursue accountability because somebody you know some kind of way might get cancer? Instead, you need to ask the perpetrators, hey, things happen. People go through enough anyway. Illness hits families. Misfortune hits families. Must you add to it with your antics? Hey, William, you know what it is to lose a family member. Why are you inciting the media to harm your sister-in-law? Life was still short when the perpetrators did what they did. It don't make life no longer. So instead of talking to the victims of these things, talk to the perpetrators about how short life is. When you ask, sorry, y'all, I got mad. I'm so sorry, because don't nobody want to be listening to no live stream with somebody screaming at them. This ain't about y'all. This is all for the people who asked that. Now, listen, one thing I will say is Rebecca Berry, I was irritated that she asked that question, but here's the thing. The benefit of her asking that question is the fact that people say that quite often. That is a common narrative. By asking him that, she put the power in his hand to have input into that narrative. So anytime that narrative comes up, we now have to consider Harry's answer. So I appreciate her giving him the microphone on some of these issues so that he could give his input, because those narratives are running around. But what I will say is Harry masterfully answered that. He was right. Those are separate issues, because that happens. Sorry, y'all, knocked the mic down. That happens too often. People will be perpetrated, or perpetrators will cause harm to people. People will be harmed by perpetrators all the time. I cannot stand when people who are trying to mediate say things like, well, that's your family, so you got to forgive them. Or, hey, life is short, so you never know when you're going to lose somebody, so please just forgive. No, wrong. Accountability is necessary. So because life is short, I'm supposed to be a punching bag? Because life is short, I'm supposed to allow people to treat me like a doormat? Because life is short and someone I know might get cancer, I'm supposed to allow people to hack my phone? I'm supposed to allow people to share my news with the world because life is short? Does that make sense? Wouldn't the proper answer, or the proper question, or the proper person to receive that question be the person who is causing harm? Hey, Rupert Murdoch, life is short. Why are you trying to upend our royal family and our government and all these other things for your quest of world domination, when you could just share what's already out there, or get savvier reporters who know how to get the story without skirting legality? Why are you doing this to real people who have lived real lives, who have real feelings, and real consequences are coming from this? Ask the question about life being short to the people who are causing the harm, because life is hard regardless. No matter how much money you have, no matter how much you're going through, it's not the same kind of hard, and it might not be as hard, but everybody's going to come through this world and face a challenge. Everybody is. We're all going to experience that. Why are some of us given a pass to make it harder for others of us? And when that happens, why are we then asked to just forgive and forget? Oh, it's okay. Forgive and forget. That's your family. Right. They were my family when they hurt me. So tell them we're family. Remind them we're family. Remind them that because we're family, and because life is short, and we know that because we've already experienced the loss, because we know that, they should knock it off. Not asking me to forgive more. Ask them to do less. Ask them to cause less harm. Don't ask me to tolerate more. Why is this rocket science? You asked a man, grown man, who's been protecting his wife for years against unimaginable threats. We don't know every kind of threat that's come towards Harry and Meghan, but I do know about the white powder in the envelopes to their comms team. You're telling a man who has had to protect his wife from all kinds of threats, if he knows life is short? You damn right he does. That's why he got her the hell up out of there, because life is short and y'all were trying to shorten it. I didn't appreciate that. I didn't appreciate that either. Now, what I am glad he was able to respond to that, because that's a stupid question and a lot of people keep asking it. So I'm glad he was able to answer it. But at the end of the day, we're fully aware life has a limit. None of us are going to be here forever. So for those of us who are hell-bent on making the time we do have uncomfortable, call them out. Don't call out the victims. There's nothing that unfurls me more than someone victim blaming. And then the question don't make sense. Let's separate it. We know your dad has cancer. We know your sister allegedly has your sister-in-law has cancer allegedly. Is it a good use of time to pursue these legal battles? Well, if my family is already going through something, wouldn't that motivate me more to pursue justice? If I was going to consider them at all, wouldn't that incentivize me more to pursue the right thing to do? I feel like the goal was just to say something about their alleged cancer. Both of them got cancer. Both of them got full heads of hair. But that's neither here nor there. We have to ask Harry, who's pursuing this legal battle without the support of his family, if his family being sick demotivates him. Instead of asking them, hey, seeing as you all are going through a lot and seeing that Harry lives on the other side of the world and he's pursuing a lot of things that will help restore civil liberties in this country because of all the media and the press intrusion, don't you think that this is a good time to support him in those pursuits so that he can get back to being a family man and get back to being a philanthropist and get back to being the CIO of Better Up and get back to being the founder and patron of Invictus Games and continue on all those missions? Don't you think that this is kind of a waste of his time when you guys could just help him and support him and it could probably expedite this process a lot faster? And as a family, this is a pursuit you could all do because you know what? You're all public servants, right? Wouldn't this be right up your alley? No, instead, you're spending time leaking stories about how you're not going to support Invictus, not support the veterans who protect your civil liberties, that the media is hell-bent on upending. Instead, you want people to think you're winning some sort of family rift battle instead of actually protecting the public. And the only person who is protecting your public is the person you ousted from being a public servant on behalf of the crown. And then he hit you with the alley-oop because he's still a public servant globally. All you did was remove his restraints. You tried to deter him and you just removed the restraints. And now he's able to affect way more lives. Now we got it and we're going to keep him. So instead of asking him about his family and their struggles, ask them if their struggles motivated them to be more family oriented. And aside from that, now let me get comfortable in my chair because let me say this. If you're going to ask about whether or not someone considered family members' struggles in their current actions or whatever, wouldn't you ask that to the royal family? Wouldn't you say, hey, when Meghan had her miscarriage, did you decide to put the rift to the side to reach out to her? Or hey, when Lily had her christening, did you reach out and accept the invitation? And if not, what was more important than your own granddaughter's invitation? Hey, when was the last time you saw Archie and Lily? Hey, William, have you ever met your niece? Hey, Kate, have you ever met your niece? When was the last time you saw your nephew? Life is short and you should know. So wouldn't you want to cover that ground? Wouldn't you want to make ends or not make ends meet, but wouldn't you want to close those open-ended things? Wouldn't you want to be more family oriented when you're facing the battle of a lifetime? Look exactly the same though. Exact months of chemo, but looks exactly the same. Wouldn't you want to close some of those open-ended issues? Wouldn't you want to be the bigger person? No. Because they don't actually care about the family. They just care about distracting and deviating from Prince Harry's point, even when it amplifies their own, even when it's a help to whatever platform or mission they're currently on, as long as they get to win the battle against Harry in the court of public opinion. And the thing is, Harry has risen so far above that stuff. You can see he's so healed. You can see he is not affected by that stuff. You weren't getting an emotional answer out of him. You were going to get exactly what you came for, the truth. Directly, unabashedly answering with the truth. He didn't flinch. Now, see, I would like to get to the point where I'm healed like that, because if somebody asks me about something I don't like, I could be perfectly fine and interviewing, and somebody might say, hey, Sharion, how's it going? I'm doing great. I'm good. I'm doing healed and happy, my brother. How you doing? I'm all happy and good vibes. And they can say, what do you think about King Charles? Glad you asked. And I'm running off a list of reasons I can't stand that man, because I haven't liked Charles since I read Diana's memoir. Because before that, all I knew about him were these little rumors. But when all those rumors were confirmed, I went from disliking him to outright couldn't stand his ass to hating him. And so I'm still healing, but it's great to see Harry has made peace with the state of things with his family. Because at the end of the day, my grandmother used to always say, resentment is drinking poison and waiting for somebody else to die. That will erode you from the inside out. Have you ever been around somebody who's like unhealed? Who's a live wire? You could be like, hey, you want a glass of water? Why you ask me that? You saying I look dry? It's like, damn, calm it down. I just had some extra water. Just gonna give you some water. Unhealed people and live wires are really tough to be around, but not just tough to be around. They're really tough people to be in general. It's really hard to stay focused on your goals. It's really hard to stay invested in the future. It's really hard to see the positive in the world when you are eaten up from the inside out. And so the best thing you can do is let that stuff go. Acceptance doesn't mean permit it, Doesn't mean accept that they're going to treat you that way. It means put your boundaries up and move on. Leave them in that same toxic playpen they tried to build for you. Leave them there playing by themselves. You don't always have to have the last word. You don't always have to win the argument. You don't always have to get back. You can simply say, no more. God bless, and move on. Sometimes that's all you can do. Sometimes you can look at somebody and see so much potential and see every asset they have at their disposal and be like, man, if you were so focused and you were doing it, you could really kill it out here. And I got your back and I support you, but you keep hurting me. You keep stabbing me. You keep attacking me. And you want what's best for them, but they got to want it for themselves. And you can't keep being a punching bag because you want to help somebody become the best versions of themselves. And that's in all aspects, whether that's your mama, your daddy, your siblings, your friends, your neighbor, your boyfriend, your girlfriend. If this person don't care enough about you to not hurt you, you got to care enough about you to not tolerate it. No matter how much potential and growth you see in their future, no matter how much you could help them, they got to want it to receive it. And sometimes you have to just simply say, I've pursued this long enough. God bless, and move on. Because then people can't trick you with a live wire. People can't stab you and get an emotional reaction. People can't ask you some, in my opinion, some triggering questions such as, your family has cancer. First of all, I don't care what kind of beef you have with your family. Family being diagnosed with a potentially terminal illness, that's going to strike you in some kind of way, no matter what it is, especially if it's unexpected, especially if we're talking about topic A and you divert to topic B out the blue. That's going to bother me. If you bring up my grandmother's breast cancer, I'm going to be like, now what? I don't care how mad I am at her. I don't care if she did run over my flowers when she showed up. I may be mad, but I still love her. And if you hit me out the blue with a comment about her cancer in a moment where that's not what we're talking about, you might get an emotional reaction out of me. The way he played that so calmly and was just like, those are separate things. He was right. Left her sitting there stuck. She didn't know what to say. She didn't have nowhere to go from there. She had to just move on. That's exactly what she was supposed to do. And even worse, sorry, y'all, I'm out here ranting. I promise y'all this will be a discussion. I'm going to come back. I'm going to answer your questions and respond to your comments. But he had literally just said, I'm fully aware of what's possible when the media incites these extremists, whether it's a jar of acid, whether it's trying to attack my wife, whether it's, what did he say, a knife. I'm always thinking about these things. And that's one of the reasons, he said, they're a great concern. And that's one of the reasons I will never bring my wife back to this country. He just acknowledged he knew how fragile their safety was, how fragile life can be. Any question about the fragility of life shouldn't have even been asked at that point because he just acknowledged it. He just told you he's aware of how short life can be. Girl, are you listening? Are you present? If you just wanted to bring up the cancer so you could get the headline, you could have just said, okay, so I got to ask the question. Your father has cancer. Your sister-in-law has cancer. How does that affect, if at all, your pursuit on the legal side? Do you feel like they could be supporting you more? Do you feel like their cancer is justifiable why they're not involved? She could have included it and said, I have to ask. I have to bring it up. I got to say. She could have done that. But the fact that he had already answered both of those questions, now that I think about it, but he had already brought that up. He said, it would be great if we could pursue this as a family. He already said that. He said it would be nice if they could be involved. So her asking him about it was just her wanting to get that question in. And again, listen, let me be very, very clear. She has to do her job. There are questions she has to ask in order to be a seasoned reporter, in order to be a reporter with any credibility. You got Prince Harry in front of you. You need to ask Prince Harry questions that people want to know the answer to. What I feel was the distraction for me was the fact that it was ill-timed and it wasn't related. If you wanted to say, so after we had our interview, I did take a moment to ask him some questions that I was interested in because of public interest. That's the topic. That's one of the major topics of the day. You could have asked him under the guise of public interest, and he's a cool, easygoing guy. He would have answered you just like he did. But I didn't like the intentional blindside. You've got one of the biggest heavy hitters in this situation sitting in front of you. Don't blindside him. Pick his brain on the topic. No one is more well-informed than him on this topic. He literally said, I'm best suited to take on this mission. He's right. So get more information for the topic at hand. And if you want to say, hey, in you know, in the interest of the public attention or in public interest, I got to ask you about your family. ... And then ask I just felt like the way it was gone about after the topic of the day, the way she went about that, I'm like, girl, you got a lot of nerve talking about reporting and the way you hit him with this question. But the topic is actually unlawful information gathering. She did not do that. She just asked him a question at an inappropriate time, in my opinion. But again, I'm actually glad that he had the opportunity to address it, because it is part of the narrative. It is part of the conversation. When people are attacking Prince Harry, they love bringing up the fact that he has family with cancer. But let me be very clear. I'm not going to name names, but I have family members who cause great harm to other family members, myself included, their own children included. They are a very selfish person who launch attacks on people in my family. And it's been a thorn in the side of my family for years, where we've just tried to figure out how to deal with this person. We have all tried our best to provide counseling. We always provide protection. We always back each other up when this person launches harm towards someone else. It's a family issue. And it's hard when you have members of the family who operate in a nefarious manner. It's tough because you have to love people, but you also have to protect yourself and others, especially innocent parties. It can be really difficult. It can be really painful. But at the end of the day, when that person got really sick after causing great harm to me, almost derailed my entire wedding. When that person got sick, her being sick didn't change the fact that she had committed years of harm towards me. And I had to sit with that. And I had to say, it's not about holding a grudge. It's about protecting myself. And you being sick don't make me no more safe. And so I will send you well wishes, but I'm always going to have to protect myself. And I hate that I have to protect myself, because I would love to be there for you. But you being sick don't change who you are or what you've been to me or others. And sometimes you have to put your foot down. That is hard on the victims as well. You don't think it's hard that Harry can't just roll up and chill with his daddy? As somebody who rolls up and chills with my family all the time, if I didn't have the option to do that, I would be a wreck. I would be so hurt. You know how often I just call my granddaddy and be like, what's up? Like, I love it. I love talking to my family. I love being around my family. I love being with my family when I can be. But when there are harmful people around, it removes that family aspect. And now we're in a prey versus predator situation. If you want to be close with me, you cannot prey on me. So when you ask someone who's been harmed by family in the most violating way, because at the end of the day, family is supposed to have your back no matter what. When the world comes at you, family is supposed to be what protects you. So when the people in your corner are the ones stabbing you in the back, that's especially heinous to me. So when people ask Harry about his family in a sympathetic way, it does bother me, because in my mind, I'm like, shouldn't there be more of a reason for him to fight for what he's fighting for justice and accountability? He's the only one carrying Diana's torch from that family right now. Shouldn't that be a reason to applaud him? And shouldn't that be incentive to ask William what's up, why he's not helping? Why are you taking payouts instead of backing up your brother? Because backing up your brother on his mission is backing up your mother. What a son, selling her out on live TV, calling her paranoid. And Harry called her vindicated. That's the son. And so if you're going to ask Harry about family, ask him about his family, because you aren't asking them about his wife. You're not asking his family about why they treated his wife that way. Life was short when William stuck his finger in her face. Life was short then too. Life was short when William was jerking Harry all around the kitchen. Life was short then too. Life ain't no more shorter now than it was then. Why aren't y'all asking him about that? Why are y'all asking Harry about valuing family when he's the only one valuing family because he's the only one protecting his mother and his wife and his kids. That's not the person to ask about valuing family. It's the people who are violating family that you should be posing that question to. And that bothers me. People do not get an all access pass to hurt you because they have a terminal illness. And here's the thing for me. If a terminal illness does not give you more perspective, I'm even more concerned about you than I already was. How are you sitting here in one hand saying you have cancer and on the other hand perpetuating a rift with your sibling or sister-in-law who don't even acknowledge you? And when you had cancer, despite what you've done to her, she still put out a very graceful, loving, warm, and supportive message for you. I don't personally think things are as we're being told, but what I will say is I know that has to stay on her mind at night. Look at what I did. Look at how I treated her. And she's only responded with love. All because I couldn't compete. All because I wanted to wear the same outfits. Anyway, we're not going to go down that rabbit hole. This is not about that today. But we have missed a lot of time together. So we have a lot of conversations that we have not gotten a chance to have because I was off on my journey. So let's get to some of these comments because I have talked y'all's ear off. Oh, thank you so much, Kat Harlem. I appreciate the super chat. Oh, these are super chat. Okay, so I've already responded to all of these and they just put them in my thing. So let me go down to the comments. Hi, Don Hanson. Don Hanson says, I wonder if the royal family feels responsible for Harry meeting Meghan. If they had not gone so hard after his previous girlfriends, maybe he would have married someone else. I'll say this. Since the way he met her was just by chance, I'm inclined to believe that was going to happen regardless. Sometimes, life will have something in store for us that exceeds our wildest dreams. And sometimes life will just remind you, you're on the right path. Here's a gift. And I feel like when our destiny is set and we walk that path, we come in contact or we encounter things that were only meant for us. And I just personally feel like they were meant to find each other. No matter who came first, before, or whatever, ain't nobody coming after. They found each other. And I think that was going to happen regardless. I feel like no matter what path he chose, it was always going to flow through her path. I think they were always meant to intersect. I really do. Now I'll say this. They don't change how the royal family feels. So if they did feel like they were responsible for that, I know they mad. Because here's the thing, Meghan is a big asset to them. But when you can't get out of your own way, you won't see the things that are sent there for you to help you. You won't be able to accept it because you're too busy being self-centered. That's the problem with being narcissist. You won't accept what's to your own benefit because you're too busy trying to get the spotlight and the shine. Isn't that crazy? Hi, Don Hanson. Don Hanson says, I'm so glad he married Meghan. She is truly his equal. He is truly her equal. I totally agree. I absolutely agree. And the way they met is just so unique. That's why I feel like that was destiny. You can't fight destiny no matter what you do. I feel the same way about my husband. Whenever I tell people how me and my husband met, it is so weird that we have literally orbited each other our whole lives and never met. And we met at the right moment. And we could both tell. It was just immediate. Like the moment I saw him, first when I saw him, I just thought he was cute. And I said, oh, that's going to be my boo. And, I kind of am silly. So I said that to my friend on the phone. I met him for our blind date. And when I saw him standing out there waiting for me, I said, oh, I'm going to meet my boo. And this my man. And we joking and cutting up on the phone. But when I met him, he is just as goofy as I am. We ended up having a really good time at that hibachi, just making jokes, cutting up and watching the Miami Heat game. Woo-hoo. And so after that, we just talked and saw each other every single day. And there's so much that went behind that when we started unpacking layers, we were like, we've literally always been connected in some way. And it was creepy. And that's what kind of put in place this belief of mine that destiny is what it is. Sometimes you are truly meant to be with or experience some people. And when it's the right moment, it's going to happen. And even with Harry and Meghan's story, I kind of get the same elements. Had they met at any different time in their lives, it might not have worked. Like Meghan said, he had to be on his own journey. He had to be in that place in his life for them to make sense. And she had to have experienced her own journey for them to make sense. And so to find each other at the time that they were able to was the right timing. So I always love that story because it just exemplifies so many different things for me. Hi, Rhonda Anderson. Rhonda Anderson says their safety is not for debate. You're on point, Sharion. Hello, everyone. Hey, Rhonda. Yes. Hopefully by the time it's in 2027, so hopefully by the time the Invictus Games are in Birmingham, something would have shook. But I gotta be honest. I'm gonna be really sad if Megan is not there. But if she's not there, I'm also going to be okay with it and at peace with it because they got to do what works for them. And I'm going to support them anyway. And I'm going to support the veterans first and foremost as well. And so it'll work out the way it's supposed to work out. But I'm going to be hot as fish grease if we get to 2027 and they haven't gotten their security. Oh, I'm going to be ticked off. They don't want those problems. Now, I'm not going to say nothing because I don't want them horses to bite me, but I am going to be mad from a distance. Hi, Lakiva McGee. It's good to see you. Lakiva McGee says, Meghan and Harry love the UK people. It's the royals that did all the ugly stuff to Meghan and Harry. Yes. I'm not going to go on. I'll say this. Harry and Meghan have continued to acknowledge and show love and respect and service to the people of the UK. They really are duty oriented. They really are focused on being public servants and doing their job, even in the face of adversity. I remember during the Invictus Games, The Hague, Meghan went over to the UK tent to make sure that she spent time there. Like, she is very duty oriented, regardless of what people say and do. And I really wish the media and the royal family weren't depriving the public of such a wonderful public servant. I hate that. That's just such a shame. They don't deserve that. The people of the UK do not deserve that. Hi, Gwen Daniel. It's good to see you. Gwendolyn Daniel says, hope Meghan never sits foot in that viper's nest again. You know what? Listen, I don't want her going anywhere where she's not safe. Now, if you invite me, you'll be safe, because I'll fight them. But other than that, like, I want her to be wherever she is safe, because it's nothing more important than her safety. I completely agree. Hi, Kat Harlem. Kat Harlem says, the IG is 3 years away. Things may be different by then, which will allow Harry to feel comfortable bringing Meghan and kids to the UK. 100% agree. I really hope that's the case. But if it's not, we know we're going to get a fire video message. So whatever we get, we can just appreciate. But it is 3 years away. That gives y'all enough time to figure it out, UK. Y'all better figure Ravek. Anyway, I have my little grudges. Hi, Idioma Matthew. Idioma Matthew says, how did y'all get to watch the documentary? Would like to watch it. It's on my Patreon. Patreon. Hi, Kevin Grant. Kevin Grant says, Princess Diana had wealth and fame, but she was like a caged animal, preyed upon as soon as she stepped foot out in the public. Yeah, she was. And I keep seeing this comment come up where people are like, well, Diana manipulated the media. She hated them, but she used them to her benefit. Okay. Just like every other public person. Yeah, okay, and that don't mean that they had the right to harass her. Like, just because they could have had a very fluid quid pro quo situation doesn't mean they had the right to obsess, harass, and disrespect her as often as they did. She talked about in her book how not only were they chasing her down everywhere and blocking her car and putting cameras and long lens through her window, just beyond putting trackers on her car and all this stuff. Beyond that, in addition to all of that, they were also, when they would get near her, yell out harmful and hateful things at her to invoke an emotional reaction. That's why we have so many photos of Diana out shopping and crying. That's why. Because they would say mean, awful things. They would call her names. They would talk about her body. They would talk about her kids. They would talk about her dad. They would talk about her mom. And, you know, her mom had dealt with some mental health stuff too. And, there's a long story there. And then, of course, she had kind of a difficult relationship with her stepmom for a few years. And they would yell out things at Diana to get her to react. And so if they could get a picture of her crying, it went for twice as much as a regular picture of her smiling. So she might say hello to them, which happened quite often. She would say, good morning, or something like that. And they would be like, Diana, your hair looks like a bird's nest. Like, they would just cut her deep, or be like, Diana, why did you look so fat in that dress the other day? Like, they would say things that most people wouldn't say to their enemy. Like, they would attack her, verbally attack her. and talk about her kids and say all kinds of stuff. Like they were evil to Diana. So when people like to come back and be like, oh, well, Diana used the media, she did not have the power to attack the whole media the way they were attacking her. And I can't stand when people are obtuse like they are about Diana, that she deserved in any way the type of abuse she experienced. She was being emotionally abused within her family, emotionally and verbally abused within her marriage, and then physically assaulted in certain ways. And when I say physically, I don't mean on her body, but they would block her in and essentially cage her. She was like you said, a caged animal. They would treat her like a caged animal, to where until they got their shot, she wasn't trying to move. They were blocking her to make sure they got what they wanted from her. Again, the capitalism over humanities thing, over humanity and humane treatment thing that I was talking about earlier. They needed to get that shot to pay their rent. They needed to get that shot to pay whatever other bills they had, to pay for the camera they were using or whatever. They would abuse her to get the money shot. And this went on for years. And I want to just get some perspective. Yes, she was a public figure, but she was a human. Could you imagine going outside your house or opening a window or taking a walk in a park and there's a group of men twice your size screaming obscenities at you? You want to know who else had the same experience? Megan. There are men twice her size following her around. And when she went to the police, they were basically like, girl, you're a public figure, move. Like they did not care. They were trying to look in her windows, standing on her porch. As a woman, when I go outside and I'm walking the sidewalk with a man, I got my eye. I might say good morning, but in the back of my head, I'm like, you try it, you're going to regret it. You getting poked in the throat. Like I got the keys and everything and what I got in my pocket. And if I got my bag, I got my bag. I'm already thinking of all the ways you could do something to me because of the world we live in. Because as a vulnerable person in a marginalized group, I understand the harm that could come to me. And so I always have to be ready. I don't like living like that, but I have to. I have to be aware of what's possible. Doesn't mean to go around being defensive, but it does mean saying, if this goes bad, I know what my moves have to be so that I can stay clear-headed and protect myself. That's me as a regular person, a non-recognizable face in the public. Imagine everybody knowing who you are, but you don't know who these people are. You don't know their backgrounds. You don't know why they're here. You don't know who hired them. You don't know what's in their bag. And these are men twice your size following you around, going to the gym with you. The fact that they paid Diana's gym to get a photo of her in a leotard is crazy, considering she showered and changed clothes at the gym. What other kind of photos were they going to get of her and put on the front page of a newspaper? Like, they abused that woman pretty bad. And I think people undercut it because when the conversation about Diana comes up, it's so dynamic. There's so many points that we could talk about. There's so many angles we can approach it from that sometimes people forget like the really heinous things she survived. And I get it because it's uncomfortable to talk about. But that same treatment that went unchecked eventually led to her death. And that's why I think what Prince Harry is pursuing is so important, because we've seen how it played out on the worst case scenario side. He's directly associated with the worst case scenario of these antics. Why wouldn't he take this upon himself to pursue? And just it keeps bringing it back to that question. Life is short. He, above all else, knows that. That's why he's pursuing this. Had someone else pursued this, perhaps his mother could still be here. And even after her death, after seeing that everything she predicted and everything she blew the whistle on came to fruition, people still say she was paranoid. She wasn't paranoid. As Harry said, she was vindicated. She knew she was right about everything. Anyway, I hate that her story ended so soon and the way it did, because she was right about everything. Hi, Kathy Gabby. Kathy Gabby says, I can accept that IG-27 is going to Birmingham. The veterans over there deserve the spotlight. What we cannot accept is exposing Duchess Meghan to possible harm. Harry is keeping his promise. He's right. And he put the nail in that. Is she not coming? Now we know why she's not coming. So y'all can stop. Not you, Kathy. Not you, Kathy. Everybody who pushes this narrative of them getting a divorce or separated because they're not singing together. Do y'all know how many places I go with my husband? My husband likes to golf. He likes to have dinner with his buddies. He goes to a different gym that I do sometimes because they have the cryo thing, and he likes to do the big weights. Now I get on there and the most I'm going to do is about 25, and that's a big day for me. But he's got to go get the giant weights, and he has to be able to make grunting noises. So he has to go to a different gym on weight days. And sometimes I have to use the indoor pool, so I go to a different gym. I would be so irritated if like the congregation at my church was like, I saw Sharion at the pool, baby, and her husband wasn't with her. Divorce. Like, do you know how annoying that would be? I don't go everywhere with my husband. He has obligations and he doesn't go everywhere with me. Is he in this live stream? He's watching. He's watching, but he's not on it with me. That don't mean we're divorcing. It means we have obligations that are separate. So I hope that it didn't, because y'all know how the media works. I hope it put the final nail in that, well, she didn't show up with Harry. She doesn't respect the veterans. She must be divorcing him. It's like, oh my God, y'all get tired of that? Y'all don't get tired of being wrong all the time? Like, that would get tired. I don't like being wrong. I hate that. When I have realized I've made a mistake, y'all know I'll get on here, apologize. Like, oh Lord, y'all, I realized I said something wrong. I did something wrong, blah, blah. I hate being wrong. I like to be accurate because I want to give you the best possible experience when you come to my channel. I hate being wrong. I can't imagine every day being like, I don't care if it's true or not. We just gonna do it. Like, you have no integrity. Like, your work don't matter at all. Okay. Anyway. Hi, Joy Amore. Joy Amore says, it's so sad when your family, your brother and father sick the tabloids on you and your wife and kids take away your only protection and security. If we're going to talk about family values, why isn't Rebecca Berry asking the Royals about that? How could you pull your son's security knowing that their location had been pinpointed, knowing that they weren't armed? How could you do that? I feel like the question was justified. I feel like the subject of the recipient of that question was not Harry. Hi, Karen M. Karen M says, Sharion, where did you move to? Was it a different state? I missed that memo. Oh, hey, yes, I moved back to Texas. We got an opportunity in Texas. And so we were supposed to move to Minneapolis. And in the 11th hour, an opportunity came through, a once in a lifetime, really cool opportunity came through for my husband. And he knew Dallas was always at the top of my list to come home to. And so I am back in Dallas and I've been seeing family and friends. It's been cool to be back in the mix. I've been surviving the heat. But other than that, it's been fun. But it's Dallas. It's in Texas. So yeah, I've been having a good time. Hopefully, once my stuff arrives in a couple of days, y'all will see stuff on the wall. But that's why the live streams have been at a minimum. Hi, Lulu Brown. Good to see you. Thank you for the super chat. Lulu Brown says, preach, Sharion. You are right on the money. Thank you for such insightful commentary. Oh, well, thank you so much for watching. And thank you for the super chat. I really appreciate that. Hi, TMCD. Thank you so much for the super sticker. Okay. Oh, wow. I done got so many comments. Okay. So that same Queen Berta Sanchez says, same here, Mrs. Sharion, country girl all the way. Yes. Now people don't rear back when I'm talking, because in Florida, I feel like everybody could tell I was from Texas because anytime I spoke, I would get this. And I'm like, Lord, I am country. When I'm reading, I don't have an accent, I've noticed. But when I'm just speaking, I have an accent. And it's never more apparent than when I'm not at home. So I'm glad to be one of the many with the twang. So that is all I have for y'all today. I hope y'all enjoyed today's live stream. I hope you enjoyed Tabloids on Trial. I certainly did. It was great work. And aside from my criticisms of the timing of the question, I think Rebecca Berry did a great job conducting the rest of those interviews. She did a great job with Harry's interview too. I would have preferred she didn't ask 3 of those questions. I can't remember what the other 2 were, but I would have preferred that maybe she didn't ask those questions because I feel like they took away from the overall point of the documentary. But other than that, I feel like Harry did a wonderful job answering whatever question was thrown at him. And I really appreciate the way they went in depth about each court case and the desired outcome and what went into it. And I just felt like that was important because a lot of the information about the lawsuits are being reported on by the very people being sued. We're not going to get all the information. So the fact that they had this documentary was very necessary. And I hope this spawns more. I hope we get more stories. I hope we get more deep dives. I hope there's more content surrounding unlawful information gathering, phone hacking, and any other type of media and police corruption, because it is infringing on our civil liberties. We deserve to live in a world where we know the information that we are receiving is accurate, unbiased, and true. We shouldn't have to fact checkers, but that is the world we live in. And I hope as we continue to share this information and we continue to spread this information that it will incentivize more media watchdogs and more third-party fact checkers, and we'll get to be in a world where I can read the paper and know that what I just read was true. Because if it gets to the point where I'm reading the New York Times, the Dallas Morning News, CNN, and all these other big platforms, and I still don't get the full story, there's a problem. There's a problem. And if it wasn't Rupert Murdoch, it would be somebody else. That's why we have to actually attack the system itself and not just one person, although he represents the majority of the system. And that's why I'm glad his ass was named. So that is all I have for y'all. Congratulations to Prince Harry on yet again being part of the progression of this world and society. And when they tried to detour his path, when they tried to remove his crown, all they did was remove his chains, because look at how he soared since he has not been affiliated with them people. Woo, sometimes when we think, let me not preach, but sometimes when we think that we have hit a wall, we are truly just in a new beginning, because look at what he has been able to do, the spotlight he has been able to shine on so many issues, how he has been able to help society and protect our civil liberties. And I'm not even in the UK, how he has been able to truly be a public servant without the literal royal family riding his coattails. They over there wearing robes and whatnot, and he is over here rolling up his sleeves and getting to work. That is a true leader. And I unfortunately feel like they know it. That's why they don't want him over there. That's exactly why they don't want him or Meghan over there, because it's too obvious who's doing the work. He could give a damn about a crown as long as he gets that lawsuit done, as long as he gets that ruling, as long as he makes that progress, as long as he protects the public, as long as he gets to serve. Who wouldn't want to be on the side of right? That's why I wore my Invictus shirt today, y'all. And they're just comfortable. Go to the Invictus website, y'all. These are some comfortable shirts. I don't know what kind of cotton they're using, but it is very comfortable. But anyway, that is all I have for y'all, for real. I hope y'all had a good time. I hope y'all having a good day. I'm looking forward to our next live stream. We have a new podcast episode of the SharionSade podcast. It's right here on your screen right there. That's the logo. SharionSade podcast coming out on Monday. And we will be having community conversation on Monday. So on the Monday podcast. So I hope to hear some of y'all's voices and get some of your emails and read some of your comments so that we can continue the discussion. But thank y'all so much for listening. Thanks to those of you who gave super chats, super stickers. Thank you to the moderators and the members. And thank you to everyone who watches. And I will see y'all next time. Bye. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the SharionSade